Well, on Everyday Life today, we are talking about the Writivism Festival. The word they're getting a bit stuck in my mouth. And this is not the first time it's happening. I'm joined by two very interesting ladies who have just given me a laugh here. Zuki and Somea. Welcome to Morning at NTV.
Thank you very much. How are you?
So, Writivism, tell us about this festival that's happening. And Writivism is an organization as well.
Yes, it is. It's a festival that's in its fourth year. And I'm proud to say, currently the biggest festival in East Africa. And one of the top 3 on the continent. And we have this year writers from all over the continent. It's going to be happening at the museum.
Yes.
And we'll have writers and performers from all over the continent and the world. Of interest to Ugandans will be launches of books like Harriet Anena's poetry anthology. We should be seeing another poet, Peter Kagai, at the festival. And there will be an amazing performance on Thursday evening
and Friday
and Friday
in fact,
evening. Every evening there's a performance, but on Thursday evening and Friday evening are particularly interesting because on Thursday we get Doreen Baingana's performance of Tropical Fish, and tickets are 20,000 and they can be got at the museum, as well as Friday Secret Lives of Baba Segi's Wives by Lola Shoneyin.
Well, you all seem very enthusiastic and excited, and I'm told you were a judge. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. I do not know if you've heard, but in Uganda, it's often said that if you want to hide something from an African, you put it in a book. You know, we do not have a reading culture. We do not have a writing culture. It's growing, but it's very limited. And the fact that now we have social media, you know, people don't tend to spend time reading and writing and cultivating that. How is Writivism helping encourage people to read and to write?
Well, I think Writivism has done an amazing job with that because it's promoting emerging African writers, creating a space for them to actually write and get feedback on their work, attend workshops. We've had workshops for the past 4 years. Mentoring that goes on where an interested writer gets to work with an established writer. So I think Africa as a continent hasn't been encouraging writing. I mean, we've always had the big ones, Chinua, you know, people like that. And if you look at people like that, you think, no, that's not for me. I can't do that. But I think that's what Writivism has done. It's allowed ordinary people with ordinary aspirations to write, to come out and say, here's my work. Is it any good? Can I do anything with it? And I think to get to a space where we feel confident enough to write and share our stories with the rest of the continent and the rest of the world, I think we will get there eventually.
I think in addition, though, one of the things that Writivism does is there are the school visits.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
During the course of this festival, they will be going to schools, writers will be going to schools and talking to students and doing workshops with them. And on Saturday and Sunday, parents, if you really want your children to be interested in reading and be part of this new revolution, there will be writers who will be reading to children, so children from as young as 6 years old. And I'm not quite sure about the whole no reading culture in Uganda, because I have been coming here for the last 4 years, and every time I come, you know, I do book signings, and it's packed. People are there. They read. They engage. They buy books. Most importantly, so it's you know, I think we shortchange ourselves when we say that about Uganda or any other African country.
Okay. Still, I want to explore this a bit more. What role do you see social media playing? Is it more positive or more negative in encouraging this? You're talking about school children, but we know that, you know, I was reading somewhere that, you know, kids today live their lives with 140 characters because of Twitter. And I thought, wow, that's a good way of putting it.
I think social media actually is a very good way of encouraging awareness. You know, there was a time when we were growing up, we had, if an author wasn't in the African writing series, for instance, we wouldn't know their works. But now, because of social media, people will get to spread the word, people will get to know. And social media is actually amazing also because you can actually put excerpts of works and, you know, students or adults can decide whether they're interested in this particular thing and engage with it. So,
and I think we've also, there are lots of initiatives to have platforms through social media where people can actually publish stories. So people can, kids, teenagers can read stories on their phones, short stories. So using what they used to, what they like, in order to get the stories in as well. And that obviously opens the door to reading even longer works. So I don't think the 140 characters are going to have a negative impact on the reading culture of the next generation. I honestly, well, that's me being optimistic, but I'd like to believe that.
Glass is always half full. Well, that's fine. You have been a judge on
This
a
year,
panel.
yes.
What would you say? Because before, most of the books that we read, African writers, were so cultural, I would say. They talk about village life and life basically in the rural areas. How would you say things are changing? And are they changing? Are we still holding on to those values that were passed on to us by our grandparents and great-great-grandparents?
Oh, that's an interesting question, but you'd have to read the shortlisted stories to answer that question, because there's a range of stories. And it's, yes, of course, we still get entries that describe growing up in a village or the cultural
stories,
dissonance.
myths,
yes, based on, but what modern writers are doing, or younger writers are doing, is that they are taking these myths and they are making them their own. They're modernizing them. They're making them relevant to the 21st century. They're bringing the myths to the cities, for example, and having really strange, surreal experiences, or describing them really beautifully. So a range of stories: crime, drama, family drama, not just something set in a twee little village with some ancestral input, and no, it's not just like that anymore. No, the stories are expanding, the range is expanding, and this year's has been particularly interesting. There's been science fiction, there's been crime, there's been thrillers, there's been historical fiction as well, but yes, we're moving away from the mold, we're breaking the mold, definitely.
Okay, something that is a bit of an issue here, particularly in Uganda, is our local languages somehow tend to be dying. The younger generation are not speaking as much, are not able to read and write in their local languages. And that's something that the Ministry of Education was saying, that, you know what, our curriculum should now, because we speak a lot of English here, our curriculum should be, for the first 4 or 5 years, or 6, the young children should learn in the local languages. As Writivism, do you promote English as such, or would you do you promote literature in vernacular as well?
In all its forms.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think one of the people who's going to be here is Austin Bukenya, and part of the program is celebrating Okot Pibetek's poetry. There is actually a prize,
yes,
poetry prize right now as part of Writivism.
And it's a poetry in translation.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that is very much celebrated. That being said, you and I are sitting here and we're understanding each other because we're speaking English.
That's our common language.
And we're from different countries, from different African countries. But I also think that, we should be aware not to dictate to artists what language they should create in. I think artists should create in whatever language they want to. But what we do have in every country, we have institutions. So for instance, here in Uganda, you have Makerere. And I know Makerere is a language department. Why is it that we're not saying, as part of somebody getting a master's degree, a Makerere student should translate a text from English to Buganda, or Buganda to English, or to Acholi, or to any of the local languages? Wouldn't that be amazing?
I've actually seen some literature, bilingual books, especially for the younger children, written in English and local language, in order for the kids to
to be able to
Yeah.
access them in both languages.
Yeah, because language is it plays a very strong part in preserving culture.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and identity and all of these things.
That said, there's also the beauty of the fact that one of, I call it revenge of the colonies, where Africans have managed to take the English language and done stuff with it.
Absolutely.
So we're the only people who say, do you hear the smell and understand it?
Well, we have got to end this here, but what would your final words be?
My final words, from today up until Thursday come through, events are starting at 6, and then from Friday,
12.
they start at 12, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's going to be exciting. Buy your tickets, other events are free.
Yeah, there are lots of free
It's at the
events.
museum, lots of free events, lots of things for children to do, lots of things for adults to do. So please do come through, and I hope I'll see you there for a couple of days.
Yes, I'll try and make it.
Don't try,
Yes,
just
no,
do
you've
it.
got to.
I always had a passion for writing, actually. And I remember sending an article to the newspaper, and it wasn't published when I was still in secondary school, and I felt my heart was broken. But I'm glad I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Absolutely.
In journalism, because I've always loved news. But these days, writing is a bit of a challenge. I try to blog every once in a while. And yeah, so I think even with social media, it helps everyone become a writer in a way.
In a way, express themselves, have a voice.
Yeah,
Have
Absolutely.
a voice.
okay, thank you very much, Somaya, and thank you very much, Zuki. I do hope you have a wonderful time while you're here in Uganda, and we do know that the writing culture will definitely improve in a way.
Grow
Thank you
from
very
strength
much
to
for having
strength.
us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for
Okay,
having us.
Morning at 10 TV will be taking a short break. Sport will be up next.